Anita Doran's Maya and Samar opens with an understated confidence, introducing a story that is less interested in dramatic declarations than in the quiet ways trust develops between people living under very different circumstances. The film begins in Athens, where Canadian journalist Maya arrives to visit her longtime friend Rebecca and Rebecca's wife, Alex. Their warm, ordinary domestic life immediately establishes one of the film's central ideas. Queer relationships are not presented as exceptional or controversial, but as lived realities filled with routine, humor, affection, and stability. Against that backdrop, Maya appears restless, a woman whose professional curiosity often keeps her emotionally distant, even as she searches for stories that reveal hidden truths about other people. That search leads her to Samar, an Afghan refugee whose life in Greece remains uncertain. Their first meeting is memorable precisely because it avoids the conventions of a traditional romance. Instead of immediate attraction dominating the interaction, the film focuses on caution, boundaries, and mutual observation. Samar understands that visibility can carry real consequences, while Maya approaches the encounter with the instincts of a journalist who believes that telling difficult stories can create understanding. Their earliest conversations revolve around questions of trust rather than affection, allowing the relationship to grow from shared conversations instead of cinematic short. One of the film's greatest strengths is the way it treats Samar as a fully realized individual, rather than reducing her to a symbol of hardship. Her experiences undoubtedly shape her perspective, but they never become her entire identity. She is thoughtful, guarded, intelligent, and quietly humorous, revealing different parts of herself only as she begins to feel safe enough to do so. The screenplay wisely resists turning her into either a passive victim or an inspirational figure, instead presenting someone navigating an uncertain future while trying to preserve ownership of her own story. Maya proves equally layered. Her professional life has taught her to document injustice and amplify voices that are often overlooked. Yet the film continually asks whether observing another person is the same as truly understanding them. As her interest in Samar deepens, journalism and personal connection begin to overlap in complicated ways. Rather than treating this tension as inherently problematic, the film explores it with patience, recognizing that admiration, empathy, and emotional curiosity frequently coexist in ways that resist simple categorization. For many lesbian viewers, that gradual development may feel particularly familiar. The relationship grows through conversations, shared experiences, careful listening, and increasing emotional reliance rather than through grand romantic gestures. Feelings emerge quietly, often disguised as concern, friendship, or professional respect, reflecting the reality that many queer women have historically learned to express affection indirectly before feeling safe enough to acknowledge it openly. The film understands this emotional language without over-explaining it, allowing glances, silences, and ordinary interactions to carry as much significance as explicit declarations. Thematically, Maya and Samar is deeply interested in visibility. Throughout the film, being seen is never presented as an uncomplicated good. Visibility can offer recognition, validation, and community, but it can also create vulnerability, misunderstanding, and unwanted attention. Rather than presenting these ideas through speeches, the screenplay embeds them naturally within the characters' decisions, encouraging viewers to think about who controls a person's story and who benefits from telling it. This question resonates beyond the specific circumstances of the plot. Many women, particularly queer women, recognize the careful negotiation involved in deciding which parts of themselves can safely be shared with different people. Professional environments, families, friendships, and public spaces often require different versions of openness. The film captures this emotional calculation with unusual sensitivity, portraying privacy not as secrecy born of shame, but as an act of self-preservation and personal agency. The supporting characters reinforce these themes without overwhelming the central relationship. Rebecca and Alex provide an important counterpoint by representing a queer partnership that has already achieved a degree of stability. Their home demonstrates what emotional security can look like, while also reminding viewers that even loving communities sometimes struggle to fully understand experiences different from their own. Conversations among friends reveal how easily good intentions can drift into assumptions, particularly when discussing people whose lives involve different cultural, political, or personal realities. One of the screenplay's most impressive qualities is its refusal to simplify moral questions. Characters frequently disagree about what compassion requires, how responsibility should be understood, and whether helping another person always means making decisions on their behalf. Rather than identifying clear heroes or villains, the film encourages viewers to recognize that people acting from sincere concern can still misunderstand one another. This emotional complexity gives the story an authenticity that many relationship dramas never achieve. The film also succeeds because it avoids sensationalizing its central romance. Instead of framing lesbian love as forbidden or provocative, it treats emotional intimacy between women with remarkable normalcy. Affection grows through mutual respect, honest conversation, and the gradual willingness to become emotionally vulnerable. That approach feels refreshingly mature within a cinematic landscape where queer relationships are often reduced either to tragedy or spectacle. Women more broadly may also find much to recognize in the story. The characters grapple with questions of identity, purpose, burnout, responsibility, and the difficulty of balancing professional ambition with personal connection. Maya's struggle to reconcile her work with her emotional life reflects experiences familiar to many people whose careers demand constant observation while leaving little room for vulnerability. Likewise, Samar's careful navigation of trust reflects broader experiences of rebuilding confidence after periods of instability or uncertainty. Another strength lies in the film's pacing. Rather than rushing through emotional developments, it allows conversations to breathe and relationships to evolve naturally. Some viewers may find the deliberate rhythm slower than conventional romantic dramas, but that patience ultimately serves the story well. Each interaction builds upon previous moments, creating an emotional foundation that feels earned rather than manufactured. Visually, the film complements its themes through an understated style that favors intimacy over spectacle. Athens becomes more than a picturesque backdrop. It functions as a city of intersections, where histories, identities, and futures overlap in ways that mirror the characters' own emotional journeys. Everyday locations, apartments, cafes, streets, and quiet gathering places become spaces where significant emotional shifts occur without drawing unnecessary attention to themselves. The dialogue deserves particular praise for its restraint. Characters rarely explain their feelings directly, trusting viewers to interpret pauses, unfinished thoughts, and changing expressions. This subtle writing reflects the reality that emotional honesty often emerges gradually, especially among people who have learned to approach trust cautiously. The screenplay respects both its characters and its audience by allowing complexity to remain unresolved, rather than forcing every emotional conflict into a neat conclusion. Importantly, the film contributes something valuable to contemporary queer cinema by refusing to define lesbian identity solely through conflict or suffering. Although the story acknowledges external pressures and social realities, it never loses sight of joy, humor, friendship, and ordinary companionship. Queer women are portrayed, not merely as survivors of adversity, but as complete human beings capable of building meaningful relationships, pursuing fulfilling work, making mistakes, and growing through experience. The emotional resonance of Maya and Samar ultimately comes from its belief that genuine connection requires reciprocity. Neither woman exists simply to transform the other. Instead, both characters influence each other's understanding of trust, identity, and belonging, creating a relationship built on mutual learning rather than rescue. That balance gives the romance an unusual emotional credibility, avoiding many of the unequal dynamics that often weaken stories centered on vastly different life experiences. Perhaps the film's greatest achievement is its insistence that love between women deserves the same narrative seriousness traditionally granted to heterosexual relationships. It neither apologizes for its queerness, nor treats it as its sole defining feature. Instead, sexuality becomes one element within a much broader exploration of identity, belonging, responsibility, and emotional honesty. The result is a story that speaks specifically to lesbian audiences while remaining deeply accessible to anyone interested in thoughtful, character-driven storytelling. Without relying on melodrama or easy sentimentality, Maya and Samar gradually becomes a meditation on how people learn to recognize one another beyond first impressions, assumptions, and carefully maintained emotional defenses. It asks difficult questions about trust, storytelling, and vulnerability without pretending that simple answers exist. By emphasizing compassion over spectacle and emotional authenticity over dramatic excess, the film offers a refreshingly mature portrait of connection between women. Its quiet confidence, nuanced performances, and thoughtful writing make it less a conventional romance than a deeply human story about visibility, empathy, and the courage required to let another person truly know who you are.